Hey everyone, Chris Sawyer here. The Varietal Show is back. I am here with my great friend Amy Butler, and we are in Paso Robles. You can see that is a legitimate palm tree behind us. Here we are. This is the great brand Ranchero Cellars that Amy makes. Amy and I have been great friends for quite a long time.
I feel like it's been at least 10 years.
At least maybe probably 15 years.
Yeah.
You know, we judge wine competitions together, but we just like each other, you know, and that's important, you guys. Both of us are here today just because I haven't seen her and I'm in her area for a while, but we were also at the Hospice Durham events, plural, that were going on. We had a great time. Amy is a specialist in the Rhone varieties. I've gotten to know her and drank a lot of her wines through the years. So Ranchero Cellars is based down here. Tell us a little bit about this brand, Amy.
All right, well, I started this brand in 2008. I was making wine for other people at the time, and one Hospice Durham, I tasted some Priorat, and there was some old Vine Carignan in the flight. And I nudged my friend next to me, and I said, hey man, if I could get some old Vine Carignan, I would totally start my own brand. And then he called my bluff. He found this location in Redwood Valley where they had some fruit available. The vines were 70-some years old, and we went up there, tasted some wine, homemade wine out of Dixie cups, and pretty soon I was shaking the guy's hand. Yep, I'll buy these grapes. So
Amazing.
I had to start the company almost based on a dare.
Yeah.
And I've been at it 14 years now, so
Yeah.
here we are.
Here we are. You know, I really love how much effort and detail you put into these wines. This is a Viognier. This is from right here. This is La Vista Vineyard. And, you know, Viognier can be a real... could be a little bit hard to grow because you have to really pick it on the right day. And if you don't, it gets real sugary on you. It was interesting. Randall Graham was here with us this weekend. I think you saw him. I got a little selfie with him. If you guys know the Bonnie Doon brand, that is definitely a Randall Graham signature. We all learned a lot from that man. And, you know, when he went over, he brought back some cuttings. They were supposed to be Rhone, but they ended up being Viognier. So we will never know how Rhone would have blossomed here and gone to the extent that Viognier did, but everyone bought into Viognier, and so there is stuff here. Why does it work down here in Paso Robles?
Well, it turns out there's more acreage of Viognier in Paso Robles than there is in Condrieu, considerably more.
Wow.
And I think I think the Rhone whites do really well because we have those cool nights and they maintain their acidity really well. Viognier less so than maybe Grenache Blanc or Pic Cool or Beurre Blanc, but I don't have a lot of experience with those. I do have experience with Grenache Blanc, but yeah. Viognier, I brought this wine, this particular wine, it's a 2017. It's a little long in the tooth, yeah. But it was the last vintage that I made off the La Vista vineyard. This is a beautiful south-facing slope. It's a little higher elevation here in Paso, and the soils are that pure Paso limestone.
Yeah.
I think it has really good drive and minerality underneath all those blousy florals. But the owner of the vineyard actually leased it to this sort of up-and-comer, and he replanted it.
Oh no!
So there's no more Viognier at that site.
Yeah.
Found that site before it was planted. I stood there and said, "Viognier right here? Yes, I will take some." And then 3 years later, bam! I was making Viognier.
Jeez, you know. Yeah, it's just it can be difficult, but when you get it right, like this one, it just has the best floral aromas of them all. It really does, and they're so pretty. You know, there's the peach and there's the apricot, but there's so much floral, you know, the spring flowers and all those things that we love so much about smelling things, you know, and especially, you know, during springtime, which it is right now. And it's supposed to get warm today, about 85 degrees here in Paso Robles. The one thing about this, and I'll say it any time, and I said it when I did the show with Adam Lazar recently, you know, what really blows me away about this place is this is very dry heat. It's not like Sonoma, Napa, where you kind of sweat and stuff. You know, it's kind of, you don't sweat here, but you're just kind of warm. You know, you're hot. But the wind is real. It comes in through the Templeton Gap. There's a big mountain range up here, and the Templeton Gap. We were there at Epic yesterday, and you can see exactly where the wind comes in. It's just gonna come, and so this is the great thing. Is at night, it's a cool night, and I went to see Alice Cooper last night. Thank you. Very entertaining, as you can imagine. But Alice Cooper's place, or the place the show was at Vino Robles, is that way. It's about a 7-minute drive that way. It was cold last night. It was quite cold. I'm glad I brought a second layer, and it was just, this is a place that you can grow this grape, and it's a, we don't have that much in Sonoma County. We have a few really good producers in Sonoma County, but it's not really what it is down here. I think part of that too is just because of the Hospice Durham and how we started thinking about this. What did you get out of Hospice Durham this time around?
It's always a very inspirational event for me to attend, and I love tasting through some of those wines that I don't normally get. Some of those higher end Cambriou. We had, Chris and I were talking before this show. I had just this killer Carignan from France, and is $20.
Yeah,
Like,
it blew me away.
I'm just there for variation, for inspiration. It's something, these wines aren't wines that I drink every day, and then I can learn from their winemakers. They're right there. Hey, how did you achieve this Viognier style or whatever? So
Yeah.
I feel like it's an incredible wealth of knowledge in one room.
Yeah. So Condrieu, for those of you that don't know, is the area in the Rhone Valley of France. The Rhone Valley it actually starts, let me do it upside down here, but this is the Alps over here, and the actually Rhone River comes out of the Alps and drops down to Marseille, and it's really that kind of top part right after Lyon and Burgundy, where it's just below that area. So that's the wonderful thing about it. It gets affected by those winds coming out of the Alps, which we call Mistral winds, and it is fascinating how these wines really work. But Condrieu is at the north, so there's that area, and then there's Côte Rôtie above it, which is exactly where Syrah became super duper famous. And for us being here, and we want to thank Jack Edwards, because he was pouring that Carignan yesterday, and it blew our minds out, and a lot of other people, and it was $20. And that's why we're like, oh gosh, this is hard, because we just don't have this here, but I do want to say one thing about this amazing woman, is that she is, in my opinion, the diva of Carignan in the United States. I mean, she's got it going. This is a grape that is part of the Rhone chain of 22 different varieties, but this is the one that is a red that doesn't get enough respect from what we do here in California. And you're right, Redwood Valley is the place that I think of as being the biggest, composition of where it's at. Where else have you been working with? I mean, you got Dry Creek here, but we've got some other places too.
I've made a lot of Carignan now from Paso Robles. In '08, when I started my brand, there was no Carignan here, and I think it's not only a great standalone wine, but it's a fantastic blender. It brings a lot of structure to the picture, and a lot of just like real savory notes. And in '08, a friend of mine planted some Carignan for me here in Paso, and I made wine out of it until I learned that the vineyard, the Carignan stock was not clean. It had a virus, so that vineyard had to go. But meanwhile, a bunch of other growers had planted Carignan in California. I mean, not in Paso, and I was able to source fruit from the. I don't know if I'm allowed to say.
You can say it.
The Denner Vineyard on the
Denner.
their Adelaida property, which is on the northwest side, really close to La Vista.
Yeah.
And that was probably the best younger vine Carignan that I'd ever made. But at the same time, I really wanted to go back to the old vine roots. But Redwood Valley is pretty far from Paso. So is Dry Creek, but I was able to I was able to find this one vineyard, the Flocchini Vineyard in Dry Creek Valley, that had this old vine dry farmed Carignan. It was exactly what I was looking for. It has incredible concentration, and the people are just they're just so nice.
They're just so nice. We like nice people, you guys. I hope you do too. Really, just this nose. I mean, it's got so much. It's got a lot of red fruit, but black fruit in there. It's got a sense of place too. I mean, there's a little rusticity to it that I like so much. I love Dry Creek. Obviously, I'm a little bit biased. I live in Sonoma County, but you know, I want to go back to Paso Robles here too, because we were out by Topless Creek yesterday, and we were driving that road to Epic, and so went right by Denner, and went by a lot of places out there. There has been some growth in this area, has there not?
There has been, the area has really exploded. I moved here in 2002, and it's 2022 now, so that's 20 years. It'll be 20 years next month. I can't begin to describe the changes and the just amount of focus and direction people have taken in planting vineyards, the talent that's here, the viticultural knowledge. It's just so much more than it was 20 years ago. So we're having a real explosion of greatness right now in Paso. At the same time, there are some brands that seem to be dominating the scene, and there are certain varietals that it's like exceedingly difficult to find for me to find white Rhone grapes to mess with right now. It seems like growers are recognizing the demand for reds, recognizing that they can get more money for reds. I'm not sure why. Same amount of effort goes into growing it, and they're carrying out whites and putting in reds. And not that I obviously I love red wine, but the variation and the diversity of sourcing that I could enjoy when I was starting in the late aughts has changed. It's a little more. You have to know somebody.
You have to know somebody to get somewhere here. I just have been impressed by it, but I love the fact that you are committed to Carignan. I don't know if you know John Scumpney, who is up in Lang and Reed, of course.
Oh, Lang and Reed.
Lang
I'm
and
familiar
Reed.
with the brand.
And so, he really took Cabernet Franc into his heart, and same thing with Chenin Blanc. I feel like you are our example down here that's so great, that went for something that not everyone is an expert at. There's tons of Grenache down here, you guys. Tons of it. There's tons of Syrah. There's tons of these other grapes. Even Mourvedre is very important. But you really do such a great job of promoting this grape. And it's so interesting. It's a hardy grape. And back in the old days, it really was one of those ones, especially, and we were talking about this before we came on the air, Redwood Valley. It was kind of a yielding grape. I mean, it could give you a lot. But that's not really what this is about, is it?
No, that's why I really like the older vines, because the yield is self-regulated. Carignan can be very boring and insipid. Even the younger plantings that I've worked with, you have to go in and really regulate that crop and really limit the amount of fruit that you're growing, and make sure that canopy is in balance, and make sure you just have to go in and sort of manipulate it so that it acts like an old vine.
Yeah.
But true old vine Carignan is it's just unmatched. It's just beautiful. I call this wine the Tethered Beast.
The Tethered Beast. Write that one down, you guys.
Because Carignan has a pretty bad reputation. My version, my printing of the Oxford Companion to Wine, Jancis
Robinson. Robinson.
She's like my favorite. But she writes some pretty mean things about Carignan. Like, certainly I think she said that it was it's past its time. They should tear it all out, And the current version, she's a little bit more positive about it. But we know that it's been in California since the 1850s, right? And it's probably brought here by the Italians. It's grown in Italy. They call it Carignano, and it's just never gained the popularity that I think it deserves. So,
it's a shaky one.
sorry,
Yeah,
the Tethered Beast is because it can be just this tannic, acidic mess, and I feel like it's the winemaker's job to rein that in. So, tethering the beast.
Tethering the Beast. You heard it here. What else are you working on right now? What are some of the other grape varieties that you've got that are like, oh, this is special? You know, we've had some good, very nice vintages in a row here.
Yeah.
What's really going on in your portfolio right now for the Ranchero Cellars?
Okay, so it's interesting. I always do a Grenache Blanc. I call it chrome, and because it's a highly polished, very clean, like crisp white. And then I always do a Carignan. And then other things I just started. I did Viognier for many years, but I'm dabbling in other varieties now. And it's basically like I see a vineyard and I go, that looks interesting. There was a vineyard across the road from La Vista where I get my Viognier, and when I'd be in the Viognier vineyard, I saw it going in, and it was Grenache. And it was this cool dry farmed planting, had trained, and I just said I would like to make wine from that vineyard. So I did, and I ended up getting the very first crop off of that site in 2018, and I made this. It's, sometimes the first crop off a vineyard is very exuberant.
Yes.
And
Wants
wines,
to be your friend.
The wines have a lot of they're kind of they're like a teenage. They're like they have knees and elbows, and I enjoy the exuberance of fruit that they exude, and try to trap that into the bottle. And so I've got that is for sale now, and I've got a Petit Syrah that I had the opportunity to work with some fruit from my buddy Ishka Stanislaus, who grows just this beautiful dry farmed vineyard in Templeton.
Great.
So that's another, and boy, was that rewarding. I mean, Petit, you just look at it and it vinifies itself.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's what you tasted us on when we were here judging the Central Coast wine competition. You brought it over to the hotel, and we had a good time tasting her wines. I always have a good time tasting her wines. And this is rancherocellars.com. You can find out more information about this. You've got some good stuff going on today. There's going to be a little roasting of you, because that's how popular she is, that she gets roasted, you guys.
I thought that was a bad thing. I'm unpopular. People have a lot of things to say about me.
I think they're all good.
Yesterday, Riley Roddick, who's a winemaker here in town, she was taking pictures of me tasting Condrieu, and she's like, "Why do you look mad?" I'm going to talk about this tomorrow at the roast. I guess in my facial expression, I have that resting bitch face.
Yeah, but I like it. I like it. Cheers to that.
Cheers to resting bitch face.
Thanks so much for joining us on the Varietal Show. We'll be back, but do not forget how cool, even though it's hot, Paso Robles is, and how cool this woman is. In my opinion, the Diva of Carignan, but also an amazing friend of mine, and we just have a good time. I've been wanting to do this show with her for a long time, and I finally got her, and we're having